There is a specific kind of loneliness that nobody talks about. Not the kind that comes from an empty apartment or a Friday night with nowhere to go. The kind that hits you in the middle of a conversation with someone who loves you. You are laughing. You are present. And somewhere underneath all of it, you are completely alone. Psychologists have a name for it. And once you understand what is actually causing it, you will never look at your relationships the same way again. In 2023, the United States Surgeon General released a report that made almost no headlines. He declared loneliness a public health epidemic. Not depression, not anxiety, loneliness. In a country where the average person has hundreds of social media connections, sends dozens of messages every single day, and is technically never more than a tap away from another human being. He called it one of the most pressing health concerns of our time, more dangerous than obesity. More dangerous than smoking 15 cigarettes a day, and the people most affected were not the ones eating alone. They were the ones sitting at full dinner tables, feeling nothing. This is not a modern failure. It is an ancient design running in a world it was never built for. For most of human history, closeness was not something you had to pursue. It was something that happened to you by default. You were born into a group of 25 to 30 people, and you never left. You knew every single person in that group completely. Their fears, their habits, their history, their face in the dark. You did not have to explain yourself to anyone because everyone already knew who you were. Anthropologists who have studied the last remaining hunter-gatherer communities on Earth report something that stops researchers cold every time. These people are not happier because they have more. They have almost nothing. They are happier because they are known. Completely. Uncomfortably, unavoidably known. That is the thing modern life quietly took from you. Today, you can move cities, switch jobs, change social circles, and reinvent yourself so completely that nobody around you has any idea who you used to be. That freedom feels like a gift. And in many ways it is. But it came at a cost nobody told you about. Because the same mechanism that lets you escape your past also makes it almost impossible to be fully seen in your present. You are surrounded by people who know the version of you that showed up after the editing. Nobody knows the draft. In the 1990s, a psychologist named John Cacioppo began studying loneliness in a way nobody had before. He was not interested in how many friends people had. He was interested in something harder to measure. He wanted to know what loneliness does to the body when it goes unaddressed long enough. Loneliness, Cacioppo discovered, triggers a measurable biological threat response. The same system your body activates when it detects physical danger. Heart rate shifts. Cortisol rises. The immune system starts behaving as though an attack is coming. In chronically lonely people, this system never fully switches off. The body reads social isolation the same way it reads standing at the edge of a cliff. Not metaphorically, literally. Cacioppo was not studying people who were alone. He was studying people who felt alone. And the two groups were almost completely different. Roughly 60% of the people reporting the highest loneliness scores in his research were married. They had children. They had co-workers and neighbors and social obligations and full calendars. They were not isolated. They were invisible, surrounded by people who saw them every day and knew almost nothing about them. And their bodies were responding to that invisibility exactly as they would respond to being abandoned in the wild. You were never built to be near people. You were built to be known by them. Those are not the same thing. So why is it so hard? If connection is what the brain is wired for, if loneliness is physically painful, if every system in your body is screaming for it, why do so many people spend their entire lives just out of reach of the thing they need most? The answer starts in childhood. And it is not what most people expect. When you are very young, you learn something without anyone teaching it to you. You learn which parts of yourself are safe to show. A child who cries and gets held learns that vulnerability is safe. A child who cries and gets ignored, or worse, punished, learns something different. They learn that the full version of themselves is too much, that love is conditional, that the way to stay close to people is to stay small, to edit, to perform, to show only the parts that have already been approved. Psychologists call this the false self, not a lie exactly. More like a coping strategy that outlives its usefulness. You built it to survive the people you needed when you were too young to leave. And then you carried it into every relationship that came after. The strategy that kept you safe at 7 years old is the same strategy making you invisible at 30. It does not look like someone sitting alone in a dark room refusing to talk to anyone. It looks like the person who is always available for everyone else and never talks about themselves. It looks like the one who deflects every serious question with a joke. The one who gets close enough to feel warmth but never close enough to be seen. The one who has 100 people who would describe them as a great friend and not one person who actually knows them. Intimacy avoidance is not a fear of people. It is a fear of what happens when people see the real version and leave anyway. And so the armor stays on. The conversation stays surface level. The laugh stays easy. And somewhere underneath all of it, the loneliness compounds. Because you are not just alone. You are alone while pretending not to be. And that specific combination, the performance of connection without the substance of it, is the heaviest kind of lonely there is. The cruelest part of the paradox is this. The very defense your brain built to protect you from the pain of rejection is the same mechanism guaranteeing you will never fully escape it. Because when you hide the parts of yourself you are most afraid of, you ensure that whatever love and closeness you do receive is aimed at a version of you that is not entirely real. And some part of you always knows that. Some part of you knows that if they saw everything, if they knew the whole story, they might not stay. And so the closeness feels unstable even when it is real. You are loved. You are not sure you believe it. And the doubt keeps you at exactly the same distance as the loneliness you were trying to escape. This is not weakness. This is engineering. Your brain built this system under pressure in the early years of your life, and it has been running faithfully ever since. The problem is not that you are broken. The problem is that a defense mechanism designed for a dangerous environment does not come with an off switch. It just keeps running. Long after the original danger has passed. Long after the person who made it necessary is gone. Cacioppo spent 30 years studying this. And at the end of all of it, what he found was both simple and devastating. The cure for loneliness is not more people. It is not more social events, more messages, more connections. It is one person who knows the unedited version. One relationship where the armor comes off. Not because it is safe. It is never entirely safe. But because the alternative, a lifetime of being surrounded and unseen, costs more than the risk ever could. You have been editing yourself for so long that some of it has started to feel like the real thing. But somewhere underneath the version you show the world, the original is still there. Still waiting for one conversation where you do not have to perform it. Still hoping that someone, somewhere, will ask the right question and actually wait for the honest answer. The loneliness you feel is not evidence that something is wrong with you. It is evidence that something is right. It means the need is still alive. It means you have not stopped wanting the real thing. And that is the only place it ever starts. Not with finding the right people, with deciding, once, to let one person find you.